It's Friday, May 8th. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. As at Friday morning, 488 Jamaicans have contracted the COVID-19 virus. 10 new cases were reported on Thursday. Among the 10 new cases, 8 were female and 2 were male, while their ages range from 4 years to 39 years. The ministry said 6 of the cases are under investigation, including 3 from the workplace cluster in St. Catherine, and the other 4 are contacts of confirmed cases. The ministry further noted that an additional patient has recovered from the virus, bringing the total number of recoveries to 58. Employees of Alorica call center in Portmore, St. Catherine are being asked to notify the health authorities about household members at greater risk of being severely impacted by the new coronavirus COVID-19. The appeal comes from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bessessa McKenzie.
Essentially, our real aim at this point, based on having tested the workers and then testing their contacts, our appeal at this point would be to the Alorica workers who have elderly persons in their homes or who have anybody who have persons who may be at risk for more severe disease, to say that these are the persons that we would want to monitor very carefully. We have gone now about 3 incubation periods since the start of Alorica. And so therefore, we'd be expecting that the contacts of the first set of contacts would be the persons, and that is getting into the homes. That is getting into the homes, and this is where the vulnerable persons may be. And this is where we would want these persons to reach out to us, to call our hotlines so that we can follow up on these persons closely to be able to pick up any illness early so we can manage it appropriately.
The surge from that workplace cluster has contributed significantly to the surge of cases on the island, with over 221 of the entity's 787 workers and more than 36 of their contacts testing positive for the virus. With regards to the way forward for the business process outsourcing sector, BPOs, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton provided an update.
We have since, the government that is, announced a series of measures to mitigate against the possibility of this kind of outbreak within that workspace. We have done a number of inspections. Currently, as you know, 62% or 62.5% of the 32 BPOs now in operation have passed the inspections. That's 20 of 32. The remaining institutions have been provided with work plans to improve their infection prevention and control measures. So 20 are considered satisfactory. 12 needs more work, and closure instituted by the Ministry of Health 4 fall in this category, and with some reopening dates set based on the actions that are to be taken.
Both the CMO and the Health Minister were speaking at a virtual press briefing on Wednesday at the ministry's New Kingston offices. 25,000 public school teachers will, over the next 2 months, receive tablet computers with the rollout of the Tablets for Teachers program. The tablet computers will be for personal use as well as to assist educators in delivering content and lessons in a virtual manner, especially since the new coronavirus or COVID-19 has forced the physical closure of schools, shifting teaching and learning to home-based online means. A sum of $700 million was symbolically handed over to eLearning Jamaica by the Universal Service Fund for the procurement of the devices during a ceremony at PCJ Auditorium in New Kingston on Thursday. The Tablets for Teachers program is part of an agreement between the government and the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, to provide each teacher in public schools with a 10-inch tablet as part of their compensation package. Speaking at the official handing over ceremony, Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Favour Williams said the distribution of the devices has already commenced. $110 million has been raised through the ongoing PSOJ COVID-19 Jamaica Response Fund. The private sector organization of Jamaica project is aimed at mobilizing and distributing resources for the protection and welfare of Jamaican citizens. Its initial goal is to reach a total of $250 million to assist in Jamaica's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. 36 Jamaican students stranded at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus in Barbados have been offered a flight home by Fly One Caribbean Limited, pending approval from the government. The company, which is based in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, reached out to UWI's Cave Hill Guild president, Thatcher Luton, in late April with the offer. Luton says payment arrangements have been discussed with the airline. The Guild president says students have signed up to return on June 15 after exams end on June 12. And British nationals currently in the island are being reassured that efforts are still being made to get them home. High Commissioner to Jamaica Asif Ahmad gave the assurance in a video posted on Twitter. He urged his countrymen to sign up to the Commission's travel advice and remain optimistic.
Hello, I'm Asif Ahmad, the British High Commissioner to Jamaica. I'm here at Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston, having just seen off the special UK government charter flight to the UK. I know many of you will be disappointed that you're not on that flight. We tried very hard to get you on board, but sadly we ran out of seats. But we're not going to forget you. If you follow us on our travel advice and follow our alerts, you will be the first to hear if we're able to mount another flight or what the commercial options are. This is a difficult time for everybody, and it's not easy to get permission from the various agencies involved, and there's also the issue of Jamaicans wanting to come home. But as soon as we are able to give you news, we'll bring that to you. Meanwhile, please be careful, stay safe, and follow good government advice.
The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, has commenced work to develop an enabling framework for the regulation of payment service providers to facilitate the entity's designation under the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA. Deputy Governor in charge of Market Operations and Currency, Natalie Haynes, says development of the new framework results from the BOJ's withdrawal of the guidelines for electronic retail payment services in February 2019. The FinTech Regulatory Sandbox Facility provides a platform that encourages innovations in financial services and controlled environment for testing and deploying technology to deliver those provisions, inclusive of prepaid cards. Eligible applicants are regulated entities, including deposit-taking institutions, cambios, and remittance service providers. BOJ Governor Richard Biles says the establishment of the sandbox is consistent with the bank's commitment to develop a modern financial sector. The Jamaica Egg Farmers Association, JEFA, have penned their gratitude to the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries and the government for their support in providing a subsidy from April 22 to May 1. This subsidy, the JEFA says, allowed farmers to sell their massive inventory of eggs at a heavily discounted price following the closure of hotels and restaurants due to COVID-19 pandemic. For decades, he was a leading figure in psychiatry on the island, an authority in his field, respected by his peers, and a national treasure in regards to research into the treatment of mental health conditions. His light has now extinguished, leaving behind a legacy of a distinguished career. Professor Emeritus Dr. Fredrick Hickling died Thursday evening in hospital. He was 75 years old. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
Born in Jamaica, Frederick Hickling attended Wolmer's Boys' School on a scholarship. He studied medicine and psychiatry at the University of the West Indies, Mona. In 1974, he began working at the Bellevue Hospital for the Mentally Ill and was part of a team that established a unique community psychiatric service. A lover of the arts, he was a stage manager for the National Dance Theatre Company for 15 years. He saw the creative arts as the vehicle of change that could prevent mental illness. He was the pioneer of cultural therapy. He felt it would cause a cultural DNA flip that would transform Jamaicans and Jamaica into a mentally healthy, prosperous country.
When I was at Bellevue, we started, in fact, it had started before from Trevor Lindsay's time, but having large group meetings of patients and staff. Sometimes you have 250 people there, 300 people, and we'd have discussions about our history. Why was Bellevue like that?
With patients?
With the patients, with the staff, with the nurses. We were trying to explore why were we in that particular position, and looking at the historical anecdotes that people had, people who were there for 30, 40 years. And therefore we came up with things like the fact of Black Friday, which was a particular strike in 1937 or 38, which was the trigger for the political upheavals of 38. Yeah, it was the first time that there was a major strike in a major institution. It was called Black Friday. The institution was closed down. Now, looking at these historical things now, and everybody was becoming really animated by looking at the history, why the mental hospital operated, and how was madness dealt with by the society. And we were beginning to get insight into this. And I really thought that one of the ways in which to get these insights over were to get them on the stage where hundreds, thousands of people could be seeing them at the same time. So in other words, it didn't just come as an accident, it didn't just come as a brainwave, it came on the basis of the historical examination of self, of the group self within the mental hospital. And then the same group who was having this understanding started to write their own shows, their own lyrics, their own music, and started
So the patients wrote?
Yes, everybody was writing.
Yes.
It was a time of tremendous creativity where patients and staff were writing music and writing songs and were writing shows together and acting them.
A self-assured man, he did not shy away from controversy.
We are now in the business of the brain and the new frontier. And that in Jamaica, this challenge of the brain and the new frontier is challenging the belief systems of Obia, Doppy, Nihilism, and spiritual possession. René Descartes lived in the 17th century. His famous saying, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Everybody know that saying who has been in a little bit of medicine or science. But of course I say that man is chatting foolishness. Because how can you think before you am? You can only think when there is a brain. So in other words, in order to think, you have to am. And of course, at that point, I usually go into the scripture now, you know. I am that I am, that I am, that I am. That I am. I go into the scripture. Because the reality is that you have to am before you can think. And the whole of Western European thought and ideas has been based on René Descartes, turning that on its head. I think, therefore I am. Now that is the reason why we can believe in Doppy. Because once you think Doppy exists, then Doppy exists. On the basis of that philosophy, once you think that a Doppy exists, then it exists. I am suggesting that a Doppy is a figment of your mind. I know that there will be much opposition to me in this room and in this whole island. That there will be much opposition to me by that statement. I do not believe that Doppy exists. And I do not believe that spirit float up in the sky and that spirit can go in a man's head and take him over. I do not believe that. I will state that categorically.
His mantra was, if it's not written, it does not exist. He is credited with penning over 150 publications and 12 plays. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
To get more on the world of finance and on the markets that drive the economy, we go to Gabriel Thompson for the Business Report.
Now that the global 11-year bull market has come to an abrupt end and investors are seeing stocks go mainly down and then up and then down, the question is what to do. I have with me Ms. Karen Fitzritson of the Professional Training Institute, Fitzritson Associates, to find out how to navigate the turbulence in the stock market ahead.
One of the things that their expectations was that whatever went up didn't go down. Yes. So probably they didn't really understand their risk profile at that time. And now is a time to be introspective, to understand their risk profile. Do they really have the guts to take the risk, the level of risk, in staying fully committed in an equities market, or do they diversify that risk?
You mean, do they run?
Well, I don't want to advise anybody to run. I'm talking about diversifying the risk, because they can still have some investments in the stock market, or they can have some investments that have equity-linked instruments in there, but diversifying their risks so they don't see their investments rapidly eroding. So first, if they don't understand the risk profile, go to your financial advisor, sit down, talk to them about your plans, talk about your objectives, work with them for them to help you to see how you salvage where you are now. Looking at it from the perspective of a balanced investor, looking at that risk.
Yes.
One of the things that best suits them at this point in time, and it's a strategic point in time, is to be looking at mutual funds or unit trusts, which the FSC call the investment collective schemes.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons why it is a viable option is that everybody who is investing in this instrument will get the same level of return and performance, regardless of the funds that you have invested in.
Right.
And if you are not like the seasoned person who understands the ebbs and flows of the market, you are depending on a fund manager who you would anticipate that whichever organization employs has the track record to be able to do that risk and allocate that risk in order for the fund to perform with minimal capital losses.
Right.
And that's very important.
That was Karen Fitzritson sharing tips for investors to navigate the markets now experienced in this COVID-19 world we are in. I'm Denise Williams for the PBCJ Business Report.
Thanks, Denise. The First Global Bank is offering free bank accounts to beneficiaries of the government's COVID allocation of resources for employees care program who are collecting payouts at Western Union outlets. Banks and remittance agencies across the island will be disbursing funds. Recipients are required to present the following to collect their funds: a valid government-issued photo ID, driver's license, passport, or voter's ID, taxpayer registration number, your TRN, and your GOJ care reference number. The opening of bank accounts will be facilitated at 60 Grace Kennedy Money Services locations. Recipients opening bank accounts may use the same government ID and TRN they used to collect their funds. Beneficiaries will also have to complete a simplified account opening form and sign an authorization form. These reduced requirements are intended to remove some of the barriers customers often face in opening bank accounts. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 2,427 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 73 stocks, of which 38 advanced, 27 declined, and 8 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 9 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments, Burita Investments, and Blue Par Group. Stocks declined for Caribbean Cream Limited, Epley Caribbean Property Fund Limited, and Express Catering. Trading firm were Caribbean Assurance Brokers, Epley Limited 8.75% preference shares, and Everything Fresh Limited. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with 12.8 million units, followed by Pulse Investments Limited with 3.8 million units, and Wisynco Group Limited ordinary shares with over 1.3 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, May 7, ended trading at $146.10. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $106.04. The pound sterling traded for $181.58, and the euro ended trading at $158.82. Oil prices rose on Friday and were on course for a second consecutive week of gains as more countries moved ahead with plans to relax economic and social lockdowns put in place to halt the coronavirus pandemic as more output was shut in. Brent crude futures gained 52 cents to $29.98 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude gained 78 cents to $24.33 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Time now for the latest in entertainment news with Alicia Steele.
Wagwan. I'm your girl Alicia, and welcome to PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. The world is on a lockdown based on the current situation of the COVID-19 pandemic. But guess what? It's slowly returning to normal. We're keeping you connected with our local entertainers within our industry. And our industry is a big industry because reggae is not a small thing, dancehall, and evolving out of our industry is comedians, actors, and social media personalities. And right now we have a small interview with one of them. Let's follow me and find out who it is.
It affect me like everybody else, it have restricted us from going on the road. And me, we used to go out and do my business. Everybody that will know says like, I get more views, more share. It not really affect me, to be honest with you, it not really affect me, trust me. The work for me is not a 9 to 5, freelancing is not a 9 to 5. So I'm not depend on the phone like every minute, you get me? When I fair time. So once the phone put down, she adapt into the whole online thing quite fine. She not have no problem with that. She's doing great. Right now to me it looks like Angie ought to take my space. Yeah, you feel me? Well, to me, I feel like me balance it very well because as I depend on the phone 9 to 5, so she have our time. They get me, so the balance it's good, very positive for me, I swear.
Disha is alive and well. The dancing diva Disha Davis from the Ravers Clavers dance crew met in an accident the other day, and she's doing nothing short of thanking God. Hear it from the diva herself.
Alright everybody, so I'm pretty sure that you guys see a picture circulating that I met in an accident. First I want to say thank God. That's just thank God, because if it wasn't for him then I don't know. To everybody that's asking if I'm okay, I am okay. I just want to thank everybody for reaching out to me. My dad, Pops, my team, Ermish, everybody in Ermish Entertainment. Ravers, Ding, trust me, and my father. I just want everybody to know that I am okay, and thanks for making sure that I'm okay, checking up on me, and just know that God real.
We too are grateful that you are okay. God, truly are the man. The birdies are saying that vehicles belonging to celebrity Sean Kingston have been repossessed. Here's a viral video from his home in St. Andrew.
Man, them straight up a circle for Sean Kingston machine. Them. See them there? GLA, Coupe, Range Rover, SVR. That. The one them go up at the yard. No. You want to move the machine them out. We don't know what I'm going.
Get your black one there, I don't want to walk on the
In aid of the repo accusation, Sean Kingston had this to say.
Stop asking about that. I see $1 million worth of cars, over $1 million worth of cars on the driveway at LA. Stop asking about that, man. Something wrong with my engine. Two of my engine them, so I have to get the people to come tow the car them so I can't fix my engine them. Because I'm going to drive them over a year now. They're Jamaica for over a year, so that's the problem. You not move your vehicle, you have to make sure some people come check on you because you don't want the engine them freeze up on you. So that they go on. You not talk about it more.
Well, as old folks normally say, what in darkness must come to light. Governor is #1 trending yet again with his song Hamat's Convo. The song depicts relationship ins and outs. Here is why Governor is trending.
Movements, me even know dog. Big drama. Feel me, I go tell him though when the thing come. You mad remember when they tell him about Keisha? And the whole way around killer say you're informer. For be about a years, girl, the man choose so far. Him still up on the phone? Yeah, man, but mute the car. They can't mute, you try style, man, but the thing feel. And I hear me attack, Chris.
Check out Sunday Live on PBCJ this and every Sunday at 1 p.m. It's a go bad. It's a go shot. It's always bad and it's always shot. You know what? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there when it comes on Sunday. You know, just remember, big up you. This is PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your girl, Alicia.
In regional news, CARICOM heads of state are considering the resumption of inter-regional travel and beyond. This came out of Tuesday's emergency CARICOM meeting where discussions largely focused on the impact of COVID-19. We get more in this Barbados Today report.
Caribbean leaders are contemplating a region-wide policy aimed at reopening airports and hotels for intra-regional travel, along with passengers from selected international countries. During Tuesday's 10th Special Emergency Meeting of CARICOM heads, leaders established a subcommittee led by St. Lucian Prime Minister Alan Chasney to discuss the proposed reopening with tourism stakeholders, including hoteliers, airlines, cruise operators, and labor unions. But Barbados' ambassador to the 15-member grouping, David Commission, has assured that a final decision will only be made after extensive discussions between public health experts and leaders.
We know that COVID-19, from all that the medical experts are telling us, is going to be around for some time, quite some time. So we are going to have to work out. Efficient ways for being able to reopen. We will have to work out protocols of operation that allow us to restart airline travel within the region and between the region and the outside world without compromising or endangering the public health of our countries. So That's where the technical work comes in.
In Trinidad and Tobago, borders remain closed, but government is making efforts to repatriate nationals who are stranded abroad. At the Ministry of Health virtual media press conference on Thursday, the Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, said steps are being taken to bring home some people.
The next groupings that have given permission to enter Trinidad and Tobago are, we had some workers who are in Guyana. So we've authorized them to return. They're in the process of making their travel arrangements. We are waiting the final travel arrangements to grant that final approval. That is going smoothly so far. It seems as though the vast majority of them were working in the oil sector down there. We estimate at this stage that is about 22 or 23. And then I've also begun to authorize those who've applied to return from Venezuela and Margarita.
In Guyana, the national recount of votes cast on March 2 general and regional elections continued on Thursday. Felicia Venezuela of InfoHub reports.
The national recount process started on time earlier this morning, according to Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson, with regards to issues raised yesterday by APNU AFC agents about ballot boxes specifically and about a deceased person's name being on the list. Minister Patterson says he hopes these issues will be resolved soon.
They were more efficient, so we started on time at 8 p.m. So they had to cut a lock on tick on the East Bank container. So it started on time. All the agents were there. So the process is going. I know that initially we had a bit of an issue because somebody was live streaming early this morning on GCOM, and I think persons once again raised their voice. You probably will hear that again. It'll come out again. But GCOM stepped in very quickly and resolved that. So we have streamlined our process as well. So I'm waiting to hear from my agents when this first rung is finished.
Later on, Minister Patterson spoke with the media again. This time he spoke of some concerns the APNU AFC is having with a meeting that was allegedly held between a GCOM staff and a party agent.
When you have a process and everybody, because everybody must follow the process. I can recall, you can recall that the opposition are complaining that if the SORs are in the possession of the CEO, they don't want that. Just like us, we don't want any party speaking to the IT manager. Actually, we've asked formally for them to rule on it, and you haven't replaced it. Several IT managers in GCOM, IT persons in GCOM, haven't replaced. If somebody would like to raise an objection, there's a certain format in which you can do it, and we hope that everybody respects that format.
The Public Relations Officer of the Guyana Elections Commission, Ms. Yolanda Ward, also briefed the media on what took place on day 2 of the national recount.
We would have completed 14 boxes as of now. As you know, yesterday our total was 25, and of course we got off to a late start yesterday. Every box, the number of ballots in a box vary. As you know, the order is a legal document. Whatever is in the order is what we need to follow until such time when a decision is taken for that, anything else other than that to be changed. As we speak, the Commission is currently meeting to discuss that particular issue, and so when they arrive at a conclusion, if there are amendments to be made to that order based on their decision, that will be done.
We're going to continue to bring you more update on what's taking place at the Artichon Conference Center. For now, I'm Felicia Valenzuela here with my videographer, Akeem Thomas.
In sports, we report on the sport of kings, as jockeys will be back on the track today, May 8, and Saturday, May 9. Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, operators of Caymanas Park, says the move is a sign of good faith, pending the outcome of discussions with all stakeholders in the horse racing industry. The decision was taken in a meeting with various racing stakeholders with Supreme Ventures, and the entity says with an overall aim to create and retain employment in the racing community at all levels. Supreme Ventures says it's still in touch with stakeholders regarding the issues affecting the horse racing industry over the past few weeks. And footballers could be back on the field this summer. Premier League Clubs Association Vice Chairman Carvel Stewart says the Red Stripe Premier League could return in July at the earliest. The nation's top flight has been on hiatus since March, with 4 games left in the regular season because of the new coronavirus pandemic. Stewart says a number of options to resume were considered, and a July resumption would be the most likely scenario, pending approval from the government. The PLCA says in an executive meeting in March, the clubs were committed to finishing the season, and they would be guided by the government's protocol in their decision. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Thank you so much for watching. Do remember, stay home and stay safe.